Good morning everybody. So today I was trying to cut some things on my wife's Silhouette Cameo 3 and it's got this mad noise happening. So I'll show you what it does. Load, unload. So clearly there's something stuck in the roller system. We're going to pull it apart and have a look if we can work out what it is. Now these machines are both out of warranty, they're quite old, but they do get a commercial amount of use per day. So they've done quite well, but yeah, the other one's starting to go that way a bit. But it only jams every now and then going forwards, not backwards. So yeah, we'll pull these apart and see if we can fix this problem. Alright, so first off, take the top off, just prise off. Pretty simple. All the fasteners for these are underneath. Two on the side there, two on that side, but I'm only taking this side apart because this sounds like it's where the noise is coming from. So start with taking all this stuff here apart. This one. And you've got another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screws, 7 screws, and then the two that are that and there. Now that all the screws are out, remembering to take out your Bluetooth module, which I didn't know we had. So you'll just pull from the front of the machine and the base falls away. And now you're just left with this here. Take this guide here off. And I will continue on. Okay, so now I've taken the bottom panel of this machine off. I took that off because this plastic case here on the side has these two tabs that hook in underneath and also this one screw. So now what I'm going to do is slide this over here, and there is that screw and that screw over here. So I will now do that. So I've taken those two screws out and trying to pull this off, and you'll notice that those cables there are quite tight. So these have to be slid out through here, keeping in mind where they actually ran around the back of all these screw holes, and pop that out there. I can't get my fingers in there to get that out, so I will pop that off the side there, and we'll see that this thing here was just sort of hanging out in there. So I've got no idea where that actually goes, but I will work that out. Oh, that's the hinge. It's the hinge, so it goes up there. Anyway, that's the hinge for that, and now this here appears to be the problem. So I don't know if this has been misadjusted, misaligned or something, but you'll see that when I twist the shaft here, this here gear is spinning and then it's not spinning any longer. And I don't think there is a clutch in it, but it does appear to be getting jammed in the movement right about there, and then back this way as well. You can hear it. See it locking up. So I will work out what's going on with it, and I will continue on with this video. So I did skip a few steps here just so I could go ahead and see what was wrong with it. So this little motor mounts on here. I see that the cable's run down through there, down under that tab, through that tab in the middle. So I pulled this screw here out of that pulley, or that gear, sorry, and these two other little screws here held in the motor into there. So pull the motor off. You can see it seems to be running just fine, no rough spots. When that's off, all of the rest of the gear train there works properly and nothing jams. So what we seem to have here is a misalignment. So we've got this metal gear here, so all the teeth are still good on it. With the plastic gear, all the teeth appear to be pretty good. Doesn't appear to be anything missing. So it seems the problem with this machine was just a gear misalignment issue. So if I put them back together now, you can see it gets that rough spot there again. Actually, maybe there is a rough fucking tooth there. Maybe there is a rough tooth. No, it's jamming all the way along. I'll get in here to investigate it a bit further, and I'll let you know what I find. So it seems that there's a little bit of play in this shaft here inside the motor to control this roller. So the motor spins freely with no sticking or anything once it's not attached to anything, but you can wobble the shaft in the motor. This here spins freely also, but when together, although it has sort of freed up a bit, you can hear it has a bit of a noise in it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to try and align these gears up here so they're only just barely touching. I can't mesh them properly because if I mesh them properly then we get that clicking noise. So a good way to try to get the right spacing for gears is to get a bit of paper, thin paper like a post-it note or something, cut a slither of it off and run it through the gear train. Then with the paper in there, you'll obviously put the screws back into the holes. You'll run this slowly through till the paper's in between the gears, and then you will tighten the screws holding the motor on, and that should give it enough spacing that it doesn't put too much pressure on the output shaft of the motor or on the rest of the gears here. So we'll do that now. So you'll see here I've put the two screws back in, and there is a little bit of free play in that, a little bit of adjustment. So I got myself a thin piece of paper. Shit, I'll see if I can get in with one hand. Probably not. Try my best, but I really need a mount for this camera. No, it's not gonna work. This should be easy, but it's really not with one hand. Okay, I've got the paper in there to space the gear apart. Ideally I would have locked it across the whole face of the gear, but that's not going to happen. So then what we're going to do is going to tighten that down as best as we can. And we'll screw that in. And that one's alright. There's the bottom one. Sorry about the hands in the way. Screw that one in. Try not to strip out these little bolts. They're really easy to strip out. So that's done now. That's nice and tight, and you can see that the paper's moving in and out of there really nice and freely. So then when we pop the paper out fully, we've got some really good back spacing there, or really good space, sorry, and no binding, more importantly. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to put the screw back through this hole, and then we'll reassemble the machine, see if it works. So now I've got the motor tightened back in, and you can see there was a little bit of grease on these gears, but there is no longer. So because I don't have any molybdenum disulfide, I'm just going to be using tiny little bit of wheel bearing grease just so I can get this machine back together and get it running again. Now that's probably a bit harsh on the plastic gears, but as I said, I don't have any moly grease, so I'm going to get a tiny little bit of this. Just make sure it's clean as well. I'm just going to put it on the gear here. Now it only had a really tiny bit in there, so I'll put this in. It's not working on that fucking thing. What I'll do, I'll use this. Put that grease in there. And we will spin him around a bit. Yeah, needs more. No, it's only a very small coating. Very thin coating just to keep the plastic here lubricated. Why is everything so hard with one arm? Everything's just impossible. Alright, put that on. Now here it has got a bit of a, had to space that out pretty well there. I'll just put one tiny little bit more on here. Oh, there we go, that should do it. Spin this around. Get it well coated. And yeah, now I'll reassemble it and hopefully the noise is gone. Alright, now things to note when putting this back together, because you've got to put the case on sort of on an angle, make sure the hinge is still functional, which it is. Make sure the wiring is not getting pinched in any way, because they're really thin wiring, really thin cables, and to solder them back together would be an absolute pain in the ass. So we've got all them together, that'll go back in there eventually. Now we just put the base plate on. So now hopefully with some hoping, dreaming and praying, the machine will not make that noise anymore. Alright, all seems to be good. So if you end up taking everything apart, cleaning everything, realigning everything and putting the machine back together, and it still makes the noise. Because these machines are sort of only maybe 3 years old, and there is quite a lot of movement in the shaft in that motor. Probably best to see if you can contact Silhouette or get numbers off the motor, put them into eBay or into Google, and see if you can find yourself a new motor. Now, the motor was like hardwired into the cable. There was no connector, so you would have to, by the looks of it, cut the cabling and resolder it. So a small soldering iron, just because of how small the cables are. Thanks for watching. Bye.